Good day and welcome to Martial Met, episode 18. And today we will have our guest, Mark Stewart. And what we're going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about identifying principles and how that can lead into functionality. And we'll hear his thoughts on that. As objective truth, we're going to be tying that in. So if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from, smash that like button. And without further ado, here he is, all the way from Thailand.
Morning, which is your good evening.
That's right. I keep forgetting.
Yep.
So is it 12 hours exactly?
13,
So it's 6 in the morning for you.
6 a.m. Yeah, just got sunrise about 15 minutes ago.
Wow. Do you generally get up every morning too?
I'm up at by 4 a.m. at the latest every day, and I go to sleep by 9 p.m. every night.
Oh, so okay. Wow. All right. Early to bed, early to rise. Okay.
Well, I go out on those either motorcycle or bicycle adventures while it's dark out, and I enjoy that.
Nice, nice. So,
Yeah.
wow. And you've been there how long now?
23 years minus 2 years in Singapore.
23 years from the main. Wow, man. So, I guess for folks who maybe didn't see your an FMA discussion or et cetera, just a quick rundown, I guess, of your background.
Yeah, in regard to martial arts training, I started with Okinawan karate. It's called Uechi-ryu. It's actually from southern China, from Fujian province, so it's a lot more like kung fu than some of the other styles that you would run into. It's similar to Goju-ryu in a lot of ways. There's in our system in particular, it's the tiger, dragon, and crane methods. And that's a pretty close range fighting, and reminds me a lot in some ways of some Silat systems as well.
Makes sense. The Fujian province. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Fujian province, yeah. And then I became a point fighter. I was doing karate point fighting when it would have been around 75, 76, and was competing in the adult division as a brown belt when I was 16 years old, and was kicking ass, taking names. And then when I hit the black belt division, it was a little tougher, really hard contact. People were getting teeth knocked out and dropped. And so I eventually got pretty good at that and was ranked like in the top 10 before I jumped over to kickboxing. And I fought competitively in kickboxing from about 1980 to 1995.
Nice. And that was
And
over here, of
yeah,
course,
and then
right?
and at that same time, I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and so at the same time I was doing karate and point fighting and kickboxing, I started studying Arnis with Edgar Guevara, and he was originally Doce Paris, but eventually switched over to Leo Gahe and brought him around a couple of times, and I trained with him in the instructor's intensive courses a couple of times, which was a great experience. And now Guru Edgar now is involved with I think it's called Kambutan. Is that what it's called?
Kobat. Oh, the sister art of Modern East, Kobaton. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, now he's involved with that. And so anyway, I moved from the Midwest to the West Coast to ultimately train at the Inosanto Academy. But I moved to San Diego first, and I was making weekend trips up to Los Angeles from San Diego to train with both Randy Williams in Wing Chun and my friend Louis Campos from Chicago, who I knew for a long time, that was already at the Inosanto Academy.
Louis Campos. That's a name I've heard before.
Yeah, that's someone you got to get on, but he's shy.
I've definitely heard that name before. That name's definitely has come out.
Well, he's my senior in every way in martial art in general. I mean, he's one of my first mentors in a lot of ways.
So, by virtue of being exposed in Michigan to Dos Equipars PTK, you then moved out to California with the intent of further propagating FMA training. Was that the idea?
Yeah, well, yeah, the whole kit and caboodle, I guess you could say. Whatever was being promoted in Dan in the Santos camp, I was interested in it, so I was researching and developing on that end in preparation to get there. And also, I was doing Wing Chun in Grand Rapids, Michigan, as well, prior to training with Randy Williams. So when I get to moved up to Los Angeles County finally. I started training at the Inosanto Academy in around 1987, but it was too far away from me still to be a consistent student of Dan's. But I did become a consistent student and private student with Ted Lukai, who was in the second group of graduates from Dan Inosanto's backyard training while Bruce Lee was still alive. And
Mm,
that group, of course, moved to the Torrance Colley Academy, and Guru Ted graduated from there in 1975. So just look at those numbers, right?
75. Wow.
Yeah, so Guru Ted was already out there doing his own thing, his own branding and College JKD, and we got along really well. He felt like a big brother to me, and I, trained with him for just under 10 years before he passed.
Yeah, way too early, huh? Wow, 75. I had no idea he was with back. Wow, that's, I mean, 50 years ago. Jesus.
Yeah, incredible, right?
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I started training in 1974.
So, wow, 51 years ago. Okay. Man.
Yeah, and then so when Guru Ted passed away, I had met Ted Wong previously through Randy Williams and had dinner with him and was privy to hosting his first seminar in Los Angeles, Chinatown at the Alpine Rec Center in 1993. Is that right? Oh, yeah, 1993, because I started teaching there in 92. And but I was interested in training with Ted Wong at the time because what he did was quite different than what I was learning that was supposedly JKD, right? And I'm not trying to be a smartass. I'm just
No,
telling
no,
you
no,
like it
no,
is
no.
from my perspective.
Yeah,
Well,
probably
you
And
can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that, right?
yeah, so Sifu Wong accepted me as a private student only after Guru Ted passed away because he felt you should only have one teacher, and he didn't want to interfere in that relationship.
So was Ted Wong from that point on?
Yeah, it was Ted Long from that point on. But I never gave up doing Filipino martial arts. I modified it according to my needs, but I always kept the root of it from Guru Ted, which we refer to as Abtik, Kali Abtik, and it's
Oh, that's
basically yeah, it's basically in a nutshell, it's a kinetic chain of movements with a definite ending. Definite beginning and ending, correct structure, posture, mechanics, and such. And that really, in a lot of ways, was my introduction into objective truth. Was the teaching method of Ted Lukai Lukai.
nice. And then Ted Wong. So before I ask any more questions, so this is Mark. This is Renee, full dog brother, growling dog. He's my
What
kind
up?
of
What up?
he's my kind of my co-host, yin and yang, however you want to
Oh,
put
cool. Oh, cool. Pleasure to meet you.
it. Yeah.
Nice meeting you as well. I'm sorry that I'm late. I decided to take a nap, and then my wife woke me up and said, "You have a podcast. Take a coffee," and I had to take it in a
Hey, whatever
pilot's
you
measuring
did,
cup.
Renee, much
I know
much
you need that coffee, brother. I drank a pot of coffee before I woke up.
uh,
Sorry, what's that, Dean?
much better. Whatever you did, there's nothing going on. So
Yeah, I took a shower, and it just
so you
it,
finally like bathe, and as a result of bathing, we don't have any more interruptions. So that could very well be it. But Renee, whatever questions you have for Mark, we just got started with his basically his biography as far as martial
Mhm.
art. So from Michigan, did some competitive kickboxing, moved to LA, lucky train with him. Then and we just now we're going into the Ted Wong before we get into the
No,
part.
I'm listening. Everything is pretty cool. It's really interesting to hear so far. Um, maybe we can next time we chat, we can get a what do you call it? A tripod that's a bit higher. Other than that, we're good. We're good.
Yeah. All right. So what'd you find? So Mark, before we get into the objective truth and supporting tactics, mindset, and exactly, and how you segue into functionality with the, what you're talking about on the test run, what resonated with you as far as Ted Wong that made you want to stay with him that whole duration?
He stressed the science-centric mindset in regard to your evolution as a fighter.
And he was mostly Western fencing, boxing, Wing Chun centric, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he was the last private student of Bruce Lee during a time period where Bruce Lee was moving away from the earlier material.
Okay, but okay, so
And so Ted Wong had zero martial arts experience whatsoever, but was a huge fan of boxing and didn't have much respect for kung fu.
got it, got it. Okay,
So that just sets the scene, the tone, right? And Ted Wong was very Chinese in so many ways, but not in regard to Jeet Kune Do. He felt that it was beyond labeling it as Chinese, and but he also felt that it was not necessary to research every style in the world to evolve as a fighter. That he was left a blueprint by Bruce Lee, a direction you could say that gave him all he needed.
okay,
And
interesting.
that
And
now
that
that essentially was more understanding of the fencing principles in Jeet Kune Do and what Bruce Lee was getting at in his next direction because it was moving, right? It was moving. It wasn't stuck. And yeah, that's basically it. You know,
was the next direction, and I might be really wrong because again, there's rumors. Wasn't there something called Nova that they were working on at one point?
what is that? I have no idea what that is.
Again, it's just rumors that I heard throughout, like the years of
Oh, yeah,
training
I
and
don't
whatnot.
know. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
So, all right, so then, I mean, so Western fencing, boxing. How
Yeah,
did?
and in regard to boxing, right? It's old school bare knuckle boxing was the essential beginning route of what Bruce Lee wanted from boxing.
Mm,
But then he found that the modern boxing, you know, the Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson style from Angelo Dundee, and facets also, I would say, now that I recognize them better, um, from Customato as well in regard to, you know, you have this contrast between like a Customato trainer style and Angelo Dundee, and they produce different types of fighters. One really highly mobile and long range and stick and move, where the other one was hunting and tracking you down, yet hitting you positions from positions of advantage and times of advantage. And so when I look at Ted Wong's, I'll just talk about the hands. When I look at the boxing in Ted Wong's version of JKD, you could call it, which I call ladder stage Jeet Kune Do, it has both of those elements. At long range, you're more like a fencer, and closer in, you're more like a boxer, but a boxer in the sense of a Tyson style boxer. And what it really reminds me of, who's really encapsulated both of them together, is Vasyl Lomachenko. So
interesting.
now he's had some bad luck recently, but it was after his father passed away, and he just couldn't handle it emotionally, you know, and for a while. And but Vasyl Lomachenko's grasp on footwork and body mechanics and position and time of advantage, hitting from all angles as you're moving forward, backwards, and all that, that
Ridiculous.
really is what that's really what we do and what we teach, but from a bare knuckle perspective.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean Lomachenko. I mean, it is hate. I mean, ridiculous. I just never seen anything like that.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
mean, he just didn't appear to have that killer instinct. You know, he just was satisfied with outpointing folks. You know.
Yeah. You know, now you mention that, I kind of see that. I mean, it's, like he had a kind of a digression there, but like you said, maybe his father, you were saying, or something.
Yeah, well, his father developed the system of boxing that he trained his son in, and his father passed away like
Oh, and
during
he was
right
okay.
before a championship fight or something like that. You know,
Yeah, 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 yeah. That can
I
have
can relate to that. You know, we're all human beings. You know.
yeah. Actually, Dwight was very helpful in this. I think he's saying Nova comes out of the Seattle, I believe. I think you could talk to William Hurst about Nova. So, okay, it's definitely something. Just okay. That might be
Well,
something.
my first car in high school was a Nova SS, green with racing stripes.
Nova SS. Oh,
Yeah, baby. Okay, so one thing though, let me, because we talked about Ted Wong. So I
sure.
would say Ted Lukai was my first example of using objective truth to form one's system of practice, right? And then Ted Wong kind of reinforced that and gave me a different direction in something that was always easy for me, which was controlling distance and being highly mobile because I'm a small dude. I fought as a lightweight, 135 to 140 pounds, and
Sorry, where'd you
so
fight exactly?
I fought kickboxing internationally amateur from 1980 to 95. So I fought in the Midwest, in Canada, in France, in California.
Way to go, Dean.
Thank you.
Did you guys catch that answer, or did we lose that answer?
Oh yeah, yeah, no, 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 we did. Yeah, no, thank you. So yeah, whatever you wanted, as far as segue into the identifying principles and all that, you were objective truth. You were
Yeah.
referencing
Okay. Well,
just that.
before I get into that, let me mention the fact that I've always had a number of mentors in my life that I didn't necessarily spend a lot of time with. The two primary ones are the two Teds, right? Ted Lukai and Ted Wong. Those are the primaries. Um, but more recently, over the past 10 years, I would say I've become friendly and done some training with some people that really are on the ball in their genre, which could be either combatives, combative sports, just those two areas actually, combatives and combative sports. When I say combatives, it's inclusive to the defensive tactics of law enforcement and security, and then on the other side, of course, you have the military situations and such. So I've been privileged to train with these people and also teach it. I mentioned I had spent 2 years in Singapore, so I had a 2-year contract with Immigration Checkpoints Authority. Well, the company I worked for did, and I was teaching full time defensive tactics, hand to hand stuff, and arresting skills and negotiating skills and such. And it was really, really interesting, very worthwhile.
Oh wow, Singapore! I can only imagine. Wow.
So I'll mention a few names before I get into the gist of it. So some mentors that I have, actually one of them is my student, and we call him our son. His name is Andrew Hune. He lives in Melbourne, Australia, and I see him all the time. And he has been my mentor in regard to health and fitness, and he has an engineering background, so he has that engineer's mentality in everything that he approaches. And it's really helpful for someone like me who is constantly evolving their curriculum and understanding. And in evolving, I don't mean it getting bigger. Actually, it would be getting narrower, but just more powerful. And so Andrew was one of them. Mr. Dean Lawler from Brisbane, Australia, is another one, a good
Dean
friend of mine
Lawler.
who's helped me, yeah, in many ways. Oh, I don't want to leave anyone out. I have my big brother, Coach Chris Kraft, who taught me biker from the street bar boxing, back in Michigan. and and then also more recently, I've become friends with G. Anthony Joseph of TCF The System, and I'm hosting his seminar actually in his hometown of Murrieta, California, and then the next day I'm teaching my guys there as well. So I'm on a path to learn with G. Anthony Joseph right now, thanks to Dwight bringing him out of the closet, so to speak. And this system seems to be quite amazing, and I'll report back to you when I know more.
Awesome. Yeah, I like the area. Yeah, definitely. So with all that being said, Renee, if you got any questions, or he's going to go into the gist of objective truth and et cetera, et cetera.
No, I'm just interested to see what's going to be said next.
Yeah. So take it away,
Okay,
Mark.
so yeah, so what's going to be said next is so what I found recently is a lot of my friends, when I ask them about the subject that we're about to embark on, they can't, they cannot really accept that there is objective truth. They won't swallow the pill. And I guess I was like that for a number of years too, and I attribute that to kind of my hippie upbringing during that era, and my rebellion nature, rebel nature, and where I discount things that are actually objective truths and say, oh no, there's so many ways you can do this thing and that thing. But what those people are talking about are subjective experiences versus objective truth. But to minimize this, I just want to look at the physical sciences that one applies in fighting, in hand-to-hand combat. All right. And so if we outline those things, I start, because of my background in Kali, with geometry. All right. So we have the asterisk, the 8 directions and angles of attack. And if you include the straight thrust, it's 9. You put that on the ground and you have 8 directions of movement, right? Including the center, which you can turn on. And then you have shapes around it that are triangular in nature, and you have parallel triangles, or sorry, lateral triangles, and you have forward and reverse triangles, right? And so that alone has been so powerful in my continued evolution and understanding of being a better fighter. And so that's the starting point is we can identify geometry. What's next? We can identify biomechanics, or the mechanics necessary to do the objective version or optimal function of any particular technique. A straight, a hook, a launching of the mass while doing it, a launching of the mass backwards or angular or circular while doing it. And so now there's this interplay between biomechanics and geometry, right? And then you have how to multiply speed, how to multiply power, how to multiply chances of survival. And I would start with something like a kinetic chain of movements versus a limited arm punch, even though sometimes you might be forced just to use your arm, right? So the point is when you negotiate space in the proper way through rigorous training and thousands of hours, hundreds and thousands of hours of practice, that you're able to combine many links of a kinetic chain of movement to be more powerful, more fast, and ultimately makes it more likely for you to survive an encounter. So those 3 things I think are good enough to really just have the conversation, right? Geometry, biomechanics, or kinesiology, you could call it, right? And then ways to integrate those 2 things and compound your ability, or to enhance those things. Make any sense to you at all?
No, 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 no. I'm listening. Absolutely. No, no. I mean, I've just never heard, I can honestly say, of all the 500 something interviews I've done, I haven't
Well,
heard any.
for instance, right? I'm in a chair now, so just bam like that, right? Now, if I want to get more power out of that, I would just turn my hip, right? And I can't really turn my feet unless I go like that now. But that's pretty good because now I'm out of the way and I can hit them again from the side. See, so now I've used geometry as well, right? So how to enhance and link kinetic chain links of the kinetic chain for full effect? How to use geometry, right, at the same time. And it starts with structural integrity in stillness. And so structural integrity and stillness is triangular in nature because of our body. So we'll use narrow triangles, we'll use wider triangles, and sometimes we'll use like a full triangle, depending on what we're going to do. Based on the proximity of our opponent to us in that exchange, based upon whether there's more people around him or not, which probably there are. And so for me, you can find these elements in styles or systems, but why not start from that perspective instead of going out and grabbing pieces of fruit and having a fruit salad? Why don't you first define what nutrition is? What is your standard of nutrition? If you compare learning how to fight to learning how to eat properly, first it would be nutritionally first before it would become taste. Oh, I do this style because I like it. Oh, good. I'm happy for you, really. and I understand that. But if you're serious about defining why it is you do what you do, you will train for nutrition before you train for taste.
So can the analogy be on a simpler, I guess, contextually speaking, instead of accumulating all these different techniques, really getting behind like what you're saying, far as defining. I mean, and I mean, your analogy of the fruit salad, of course, um, but defining, things you mentioned, geometrically speaking, and the kinetics in there. Is that, am I on the right track? As far as that, taking a
Yeah,
step back from accumulation
I
and
just think
really.
I'm just kind of analyzing my journey, and my journey, I think I fell for the bait and the hook and the line
I
and the
think we
sinker
all
in
did,
regard
right? We
to
all bought the Kool-Aid at one time, right? I mean.
yeah the Kool-Aid,
I
and
think we all overanalyze fighting and violence. I think
really,
that's what
yeah,
the
I
problem
mean,
is.
well, and
A
it's
hundred
yeah,
percent. Like, listen, I, I sit there and I watch people who are teaching and the videos that they post, and I think we simplify what either they simplify or they make a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to combat or fighting. It's actually pretty
yeah,
simple.
yes. Okay,
Like,
so you've
listen,
outlined,
if you
yeah.
want to fight, there are some basics, and usually for me and what I've seen through my life is the aggressor and the person who is willing to go farther than what social norms are allowed will win.
Yes,
And
totally,
I
totally.
I it always makes me laugh when people try to, like, make a big deal out of, like, well, you need to, like, if you had 10% more, footwork, you would do better. It's like, no, the person who is more violent, who is more aggressive, tends to win. And I see that in nature all the time as well. Sorry, I'm just jumping
That makes
in,
sense to me. But no, no,
and
I
I
was
could
just
be
going to
completely
say that.
wrong, but I
No, I
just,
don't think you are. I mean, I'm saying that I think you've identified two extremes, and I think the truth is somewhere in between in regard to, yes, it's very organic and simple on its base nature. Um, but things do evolve. I mean, humans haven't evolved that much, but the sciences around them have evolved in such a way to where athletes have evolved skill level wise. People's understanding of nutrition, of sports science, of these things, psychology. Now, I'm not saying that.
100%. And that's the key word. It's sport. And I think that's where
Yeah.
where we have to make the we have to differentiate between sport and survival.
Okay.
I
So
think when
then,
you have
okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
so when we're talking about an athlete, 100%. They have training camps, psychological camps, and everything else, and it makes them accelerate when it comes to any kind of sporting event. But when it comes to a
Well,
survival event,
hold on.
I
But
think
so
that's
does
when
military does the same at high levels. So,
yes, but they're training to kill people. They're not training to, like,
well,
win a
that's my
medal.
point. That's my point. That's my point. So why, if killing people on one end and sport fighting on the other end, what's in between it? This is the civilian.
Well, I think we have to realize, like, what is sport and what is survival, right? Like, and then that's what that's what I'm coming down to. It's like if
So, but
you
what you're
go
saying
to
is that what you're saying is science cannot enhance your survival.
no, what
Okay,
I'm
well, that's
saying
I mean
is that
that's what I misunderstood. Then I'm sorry.
okay, that's fine. And listen, I'm not a military person, and
Yeah, not
I'm
not
not
in
going to
there.
play anything.
Yeah,
And I'm not an athlete either. Clearly, um, but what I'm saying is that a lot of people, they'll go to a martial arts class or a seminar, and they're taught for self-defense, but don't realize there's people out there who've never trained a day in their life, but their survival skills are a lot better than theirs, you know,
exactly. Yeah.
and they're willing
Okay,
to
but
go
so
farther than you ever will.
so is that
And
because of genetics and environment?
no, it's because of their will to live.
Okay, so it's just their will to survive.
100%. Like, listen,
Yeah.
and I'm saying this again. I'm not saying I'm a I'm a scholar when it comes to this, but I've seen homeless people fight for their right to survive, where
Yeah,
most
yeah,
people would have given up, right?
yeah. I understand. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And
That's a interesting dynamic. Yeah. Well, I see all this
yeah,
as a paradigm. Not. I don't see it as a conflicting dichotomy or anything. I see all of this as a paradigm. And my point actually is just that each individual should have an understanding of what they need to enhance what they're doing. Unless, of course, they're just doing it for other reasons. But if they are
100%.
doing it if they're doing it as a civilian for survival, and then they're passing that knowledge on to their family and their friends to make the tribe stronger, so to speak, then they
Mhm.
should not just be chasing down a number of different traditional styles to learn from.
I would love to see a seminar when someone says, "Where are you how far are you willing to go?" Instead of like, "This is the way." Are you willing to, I'm not trying to get too graphic, but how far are you willing to take it when it comes to your self-preservation of the people around you? Because
Yeah,
everybody
fighting
says,
someone's.
"Oh yeah, if someone touches my family, I'll do this and that." Everybody's willing to, like, go that route, but how far are you actually willing to go?
Yeah, for
And
sure. Well, you don't know until it happens. So
100%.
it's
And
and
what
it's
I'm seeing
difficult
these
to.
days, so I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off when I'm talking. What I'm seeing these days is that most people are teaching stuff that they think will work instead of knowing that it'll actually will work. And they're not willing to say, "Hey, listen, if you're 115 pounds and the guy's 300 pounds in front of you, you need a weapon." you know,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't,
exactly
your
right.
hands and your feet ain't doing shit. You need to get
Yeah,
a
you're
knife
making
or a gun.
You're making great points, and that brings me to this idea, right? We talk about latter stage Jeet Kune Do and footwork, right?
Hmm.
It breaks down under certain environments, and
Yeah,
if you've never known how to be solid and rooted in one spot and still get power, then you've lost completely. You've lost your life in some situations because you're all fancy footwork all the time. And I'm not trying to
100%.
say fancy footwork, right? But what I'm saying is that in conditions dictate the results.
Or the
And
tactics.
It's funny because I always, and I studied Jeet Kune Do for, God, it was like well over 20 years. And I love the art. But I'm also going to say this, like people keep saying, "Well, Bruce Lee was 120, 126 pounds and he was 5'4". Yeah, but you're not Bruce Lee. You know, this is a man that did
well, well,
that put his
I'm
entire life.
I'm Bruce Leroy. I'm Bruce Leroy. So there you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Like when I started bouncing, I was 125 pounds and 5'8". Um, but at the same token, by the time I finished bouncing, I was 200 pounds, still 5'8". But I changed quite a bit because of my environment. Um,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think people need to realize, like, when it comes to self-preservation, like, it's not that easy. Like, you really have to put the work in.
Okay, all right. Now,
And
sorry to cut you off, but I mean, we're
no, please
supposed to
do.
be discussing objective truth and subjective experiences and how they're different and how one might facilitate the other one for better results.
Yeah, I tend to go off on tangents, so go ahead.
So, I mean, Dean, what you got to say, folks?
No, I think it's great what you guys are talking about. I think they're like you. The key thing that you touched upon, where's the middle, right? Athletes, soldiers, right? The layman, right? And where's the layman? How can the layman dial in to get what he needs to protect himself and family? And what Renee touched upon, how far you willing to go, which of course is going to be in that moment, right? So
Well, but you know what? I purposely left that out because I didn't want to discuss psychology and emotion. I
yeah,
just wanted to break it down into the two, just to keep it simple, because we could
yeah.
go on and on with listing objective truths and
No, no,
such
no. I
things.
mean, this can go. You can go down rabbit holes with this. No, I think it's great stuff. And to be quite frank with you, of all the 500 something episodes I've done, this has never been really touched upon, but never dialed in like what's kind of going on here. So I think it's refreshing to hear some of this stuff from both of you and your lenses. And I don't think you guys are too far off, actually. Maybe
Well,
verbiage.
let me ask both of you this question then. I identify the two extremes. If you want to call them extremes, I don't see them as extremes. But combative
I guess
sports athlete
opposite,
and
maybe
but
opposites. You know,
no, let me finish my point. Okay, I don't see much different in combative sports and athletics that have the least amount of rules, like MMA, and the combative genre, like Lee Morrison and other well-known people out there. They both agree that athleticism is a really big deal. They'll both tell you that diet and nutrition are a really big deal. And I'm not getting into psychology yet, but that's tied in. Gut health goes straight to the brain, right? And so what I'm saying is that I think that the civilian individual that's there to learn something that keeps him fit and learn things to protect his family and to share that knowledge can learn more from those two resources of the combatives and combative athletics genres than they can from traditional martial arts hit and miss.
I would agree.
And that's not to talk bad about traditional styles.
Absolutely.
I still research and study traditional styles, Southern
We
Chinese and
all,
internal Chinese stuff.
most of us started there, right? I mean, so
I think it's when we started makes a difference as well. Because like nowadays, things are very, very different when it comes to that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like listen, like when I first started learning about FMA, which is like the late 80s, early 90s, it's very, very different from what I see now. And
yep.
I think the the in, the intention of the art was very, very different from where it is now. Like a lot of people
Yeah.
now are saying how everybody everybody now has a family system. Like everybody now is like they were like the first stick fighters before the Dog Brothers, and everybody was like like back when
Oh, Renee, you do the Dog Brothers stuff, right?
yeah, I'm a full Dog Brother.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I as soon as Mark and Eric put that stuff together, I said, "Oh man, this is what I want." But it just didn't work for me. I was already on my way to Asia.
Oh, hey man, like listen, like I'm not saying people didn't fight back then. I'm saying that nobody decided to take it out of the box like they did. Like
Yeah,
with Eric, Arland, and Mark.
yeah,
So, when I hear people saying, "Oh, we did that before," I'll say you did, but you didn't bring it at that level. Because if you did, we would have
yeah.
heard about it before they did it.
Okay, so that brings up the whole other topic about objective truth is realistic training, right? And so I another one of the people I consider my mentors is Matt Thornton, who came out as anti-concept JKD concepts for reasons that he's explained over and over again. But his whole thing is that the training has to be alive, and
That's
that
the
doesn't
uh, that's
mean
the that's the
hold
grappler
on.
dude, right?
Originally under Paul Vunak lineage, Kali and JKD,
Hmm.
and then Brazilian Jiu Jitsu under Hickson Gracie and others, and um, but then it expanded into, well, his good friend was Daniel Doobie of the old school Savat training.
mm,
And so he's done a lot of that. So I would say that the SBG's stand up approach is like a mix between Savat and Muay Thai. Their clinch work really is inspired from who's the guy's name? Randy Couture's dirty boxing and Greco-Roman clinch work, and of course Hickson's Gracie's jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's what we're getting at. But within that group, there's also a movement of military and law enforcement officers that actually teach defensive tactics and combative based upon that foundation as well. But the whole point, the whole point is aliveness training, and that doesn't connote necessarily full contact fighting. What it means is that you don't get stuck in non-compliant partner training. Sorry, you don't get stuck in fully compliant partner training or human dummy training, where one guy feeds you something and then you go around him and hit him a number of times. So that is thrown out the door. Everything is contested at different levels of non-compliance, and I totally agree with that.
100.
That
Yeah,
that to me is an objective, is using an objective truth that aliveness, or what Bruce Lee called learning how to. You have to learn how to swim by jumping in the water, right? And so it's that type of thing that to me stands out as an objective truth. You will get. You have the only way you can learn how to fight is by fighting. All right. Now your intellect will tell you what went wrong, what went right, how can I enhance it in my training further.
I met Matt Thornton in 2010, 2011. Like it was, he's a
Oh,
pretty cool guy.
yeah,
I
he
went to
is.
one of his seminars.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah. So you know, I consider myself someone who was exposed to a lot of styles, but that really I wasted a lot of time by doing that.
Hell yes.
Whereas if I would have started out with the understanding of objective truth, which was taught to me by my father, basically he just said, if you're going to do something, do it right. And again, I rebelled against those words of advice, so
Well,
I'm off to say now that I'm trying to do my thing right now, boys and girls.
like in all fairness, like I'm gonna take a chance by saying that we are all in the same generation in training. Um, so back when we were training, a lot of the stuff was, we took it for truth when we actually realized a lot of the stuff that we're doing was like BS.
Yeah, and then you look back at it, and then you ask yourself, well, actually, I did know it was BS, but I still gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Because we're too fucking polite to say no. Like, listen,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Exactly.
and I'll say this: I absolutely love Guru Dan. Like, again, after I was a Jeet Kune Do instructor for 20 plus years. I hosted him 2 times. Um, you know, what I absolutely loved is like, I would go to a seminar and he would say, "Hey, Renee, how are you?" And I would look at him like, "Oh my God, like you're so amazing." It'd be like, "Oh my God, that guy's so polite because he actually remembered my name." Um, but at the same token, there's been plenty of times where he was teaching and I'd just take a seat and go, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not interested," right?
Yeah,
Because
and
he didn't really.
you have to do that. You have to do that, man. You have to.
I was honest enough with myself to say, this is not what you want to do, right? Or this is not where you want to be in your martial arts career. And like sometimes we do seminars, not because we're thinking of we're going to learn something. We're just being respectful to the person that's teaching it, right?
Yeah,
And
certainly.
and if Guru Dan came to Toronto tomorrow, I would go. I can't say I would participate to the entire thing, but I would go just because I respect the man and I respect the fact that he's done what he's done. Um,
Are you based in Toronto?
I'm just outside of Toronto. I'm about an hour outside of Toronto right now.
Okay, cool. I'm from
I'm tr-
Kalamazoo.
I'm
I'm
I'm,
from
tr-
Kalamazoo. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan, so I'm one of your neighbors.
well, I'm trying to get farther and farther from Toronto. So give me give me like 2 years and I'll probably like be able to shake your hand. Um, I'm just no, I got to get the hell out of here, out of Canada. But
I
no,
hear
it's
you. I
just
hear
like
you.
it's I think we are part of that generation where we're still nice enough to God, I'm trying to think of the perfect word to say here, but I can't. So I'm probably gonna be rude when I say this. Uh, I'm part of the generation that just will be nice to people who I know are not going to teach me something that's useful.
Hey,
And I
Dean.
show
Dean.
up.
Dean, is there any questions out there from our lovely audience, worldwide,
There are, and I
millions
wrote them
of viewers?
down, but they're not really pertaining to what you're talking about. And since we only got to 10 after, I want to because we can always bring it back
Well,
or.
isn't that cute though? The questions are not about the subject. Oh, that's lovely. So it shows you how much people appreciate the fact that there's objective truth, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people, well, FMA's people can't stay in the contextual lane to save their lives, to be quite honest. So,
And by the way, I also want to say, like, these are just my opinions. Like, I'm like,
yeah,
obviously,
don't look at it.
Dean and I have this show, which to me is like, I call this my bro time, where I get to hang out with other bros and just like talk about stuff. And
Yeah.
I am not a nice person when it comes to the martial arts, just because I've seen the B I've seen the BS of martial arts. And
Yeah.
lately I've been calling a lot of people out. And
Well,
my thing is,
I don't care what they do, really, to be honest with you. I'm just trying to tell people that because I recognize the mistakes I made throughout the years, that I feel that I'm a path that I should have been on a long time ago. In some ways I was, but some ways I ignored it and it kind of went like that. You
yes, but you know what? Here's the thing. Like, and you strike me as someone who kind of thinks like me, that if I were to say, like, if I saw one of your videos or something that you did and I didn't like it, and I would say, hey, this is bullshit, you would say, hey, let's chat about it, right?
Yeah, and for sure. And
Where most,
I mean, recently a student made me completely revamp my approach to a certain tactic. And he was right. And I just did not pay attention to it earlier on.
like,
And
listen, if I
one
was if I was one of your students, I would be like, hey, listen, your choice of shorts, not that great.
but look, they're fucking Thai elephants with the pagodas,
Oh,
man. What the,
I get it, man. I get it. But if the camera angle was different, we'd have to censor this show, right?
We would,
okay, well let me
due
do this.
to a
How's that?
chosen attire, we will not be ending the show.
Hey
and,
Dean, have a look.
there you
Oh my
go.
goodness. There you go.
It's Mr.
Which is
Wiggly's
weird
wearing
because
sunglasses.
There you
which is
go.
weird. Like, I have two elephant ears tattooed on both of my thighs. So
All right. All right,
no,
bro.
but
So, I mean, unless there's anything else we should discuss, I mean, I'm not trying to tell people what they do or
No,
what
no,
they
no,
should
and
do.
nobody's feeling that way. And
I'm
we
trying to
are.
say that I should have paid attention to objective truth in doing things, trusting my instinct and my educated eye all along, and I would have been more of a badass than I am already. Woo!
Oh, emphasis on that. But no, we got one here. One quick question, which is kind of somewhat relevant. Bosse was asking, JKD lineage. I'm from the Vunak lineage. Renee, you are from the what lineage?
I am from the Kabayama lineage, which was
All right, cool.
Vunak's first student in Canada.
Okay, and obviously it speaks for
Okay.
itself. Sifu Mark is under Ted Wong. So that okay. Oh,
Well, no. Hold your horses, Ted Lukai Lukai and Ted Wong, because
okay,
Ted Lukai Lukai taught Jeet Kune Do as well. It just
gotcha,
was a little bit different.
gotcha. All
Yeah.
right, Dwight Woods. What's the objective truth behind those shorts?
Survival.
Survival. Well, there you heard it, Seafood Dwight, who's also coming on the show early July. Seafood Dwight.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I always enjoy talking to Seafood Dwight. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what do you think about, like, all the stuff that you're seeing online these days? Like, obviously,
Uh-oh.
no. I'm not going to bring anything up. But
I'm just kidding, man. I'm just.
um, so like, listen, like when I was like back in the '90s, instructors were very hard to come by. But nowadays, it's like dime a dozen. What do you think about like? What is your view on what you see these days when it comes to JKD or anything else that you train with? Like, for me, I'll just say this: I'm just seeing a lot of regurgitated stuff that people have no idea what they're talking about, because I'm angry and Spanish. But what do you see these days? Like, are you cool with what you see? Are you like saying people are kind of
Well,
misinformed?
I think the only thing that's missing is them in their heading or caption writing what the context of what they're showing is. Because unfortunately, most of it is fully compliant training where their opponent just fucking standing there. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't look at that.
See
I
it every
don't
day.
look at that
Yes.
anymore.
Discussion. Yeah.
I don't fucking
Yes.
look at. I don't look at that shit. Why would I look at that?
The
It
daily,
drives me fucking bananas. It drives me fucking bananas.
this is
And, you know,
why I
like
can't have you monitor the post coming in FMA discussion because you would let anything come in
honestly,
there.
it drives me so crazy when people are like, "Watch this stick combination that I'm gonna do," and it's like, "I'm a zombie. I'm attacking this person," and they do this like
But
amazing,
I do understand someone's first lesson being that. But never again. Never again.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, right. I mean,
it's like
everybody, right. I
it's like
mean,
the shooting world. The shooting world is the exact same. It's like this is the way you shoot, and you should hold your gun this way, and you should hold your gun that way. And it's like, we had Adam on one of our podcasts who's like,
early on, right? Yeah, yeah.
he's been around and he's actually been in conflicts where he's had to shoot at humans, and it's like, no, you would never want to do that. You were, like it drives me bananas. It, like, honestly, like, besides the show, when I call Dean on my hundreds of rants that I have on a weekly basis, because
Find his therapist. No.
I may have some mental health issues, I guess, at that point. It drives me crazy of the stuff that's being taught as reality when
No, of
it's
course not.
just a concept.
No.
Yeah, I would also say that everyone has bitten the nasty fruit of sensationalism, number one, which has created a number of instant experts who have no expertise.
Social media driven. Yeah. Matter of fact, me and Renee, how many times have we talked about this? Like, all of a sudden, guys telling other people what they should and shouldn't be doing, and then saying no. And I'll use empty hand against knife, something I've been doing
Let's
for
just say,
25
like,
years, and
hypothetically, let's just say,
please do.
hypothetically, I called somebody on something today, and hypothetically, and I was like, hey, man, like, that doesn't seem to be realistic. Their reaction isn't to have a conversation with me and say, no, well, this could work because A, B, and C. It's like they block you. You
Yep,
know?
yep.
To me, that's like,
You know what that
oh,
is? What that's saying is busted. You're busted. You busted them.
oh,
All right,
it's
man.
it.
You guys, I'm starving now. I gotta let the dogs out, and I'm starving. But I really, Renee, I'd like to hook up with you in real life sometime, man. I'm gonna be back in Michigan during September if we can somehow meet for a coffee somewhere. I mean,
100%, man, 100%.
I might be able to like meet you in Windsor, Ontario, or something like that. I don't know
If
how
you
you kick around.
if you make it to Windsor, I will find a way there because Windsor to me is like 3 hours.
Yeah,
But I'd love to sit down and just chat and talk about Dean.
yeah, we could talk about
I
Dean.
mean, there's enough there, right? I mean, geez.
Hey, Dean, thank you for having me on again,
Yeah,
Dean.
yeah.
I
Here,
appreciate it.
you know what? If I get a bunch of questions in, we could certainly bring you on again. No sweat.
Okay, next time I'll wear my speedos so you can
Please
actually
do.
see Mr. Wiggly.
Please do.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right.
All right, guys.
right, brother.
Thanks.
Take care. Sawadee home.
Bye.
Ah.
Hey, one thing I wanted audience that are still listening, and I got this from Seafood Dwight Woods. Critique versus criticism, and I think Dwight Woods is like dead on this. Some people, like, you could ask, like, "Hey, I'm just wondering why you're doing that," and they automatically take it as criticism. You know what I mean? And I think and I think because of social media and this, there's also this hypersensitivity that with some of these folks, like, how dare you like question or ask? And it can be done, and I've seen this done in the nicest way in FMA discussion, and removed a couple of people due their responses due to the person just asking simply like, "Hey, why are you doing this?" And I think there's, I mean, yes, if you're flat out just saying, "Well, this is," blah, 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 I mean, okay, you are criticizing, but there is some folks, there is a difference, critiquing versus criticism.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Like, when I say something, I don't say it out of malice.
Hmm.
I say it out of, like, I want to know where you were coming from or what you were doing. And if I say, "Hey, what you're teaching is bullshit," then I want you to prove me wrong. And like, that's what I actually want. I actually want you to say, "Well, no, Renee. Like, if you actually look at this, this is the way I do it." Anything I teach, anything I've taught, any seminar, any material that you can find, in my opinion of what I teach, I have a reference point that I can send you to say this is where I used it.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
sitting there and you're like, well, this neck disarm is 100% real, and it's the same thing. Like when I was like literally calling bullshit on you, you proved me wrong. You proved
I
me wrong.
agree.
Like and 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 when you did, I was super happy about it because you proved me wrong, but we had to meet to do it.
Yeah.
But when I see like, like the Sistema type, you
Mhm.
know, energy, I move the knife around, or I can see your hand before you actually throw the punch,
Yeah.
or, the stop my knife.
What drives me
And
up
you
is
do these
when the
moves, I'm going to
feeder.
call you on it because
Yeah.
you've chosen to put that material out. I didn't. I'm just reacting to what you're putting out.
Yeah, but you know what's amazing though? You know what's further? I think you gotta look. I always look from two sides. You see what the content's being put out. I always look at the comments. No, where sometimes I'm more interested in the comments than sometimes the actual content that's put out. But I'm telling you, I've seen some crazy stuff and being against knife, like just being there, like that's no, that's not going to work. At the 1 second, point 0.5 mark, you are going to be in trouble. Whatever the scenario may be, right? But the comments, I'm telling you, they keep doing it because you'd be surprised. Other people that don't know, they're basically substantiating why this guy should keep posting because they're liking it and they're putting comments and this and that and the other thing. So these guys, it's that dopamine. They're driven. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
until somebody like you comes around.
Well, here's the thing, and you know me well enough that I actually don't give a flying shit about anything when it comes to, how people feel. There
No,
are facts and there are emotions,
you
and
don't
I
care.
don't give a shit about emotions. I care about facts.
Well, so
And
what content do you like, Renee?
oh my God, honestly, like when I've been watching a lot of like videos on like riots and everything else, and I look at the way people behave,
Yeah.
and then I sit there and I go, okay, how is what I teach or what people are teaching relevant to what's actually happening?
Mm,
How can I actually make that work? And if I can't successfully make an argument to what's going on, I should keep my mouth shut. And unfortunately, it's not that way. People are always like, "Oh, you grab the guy's hand and you turn him and you put him
mm.
on the ground and you poke him in the eye and everything is good." And it's like, okay, so here's the thing. Here's what I think. I watch a guy grab my friend and poke him in the eye and put him on the ground. And then I'm going to kick that guy's face off his head. You
So,
know,
and what technique are you pulling that from, Renee? What
yeah.
system?
You know what I mean? Like, this is like the thing. Or it's like, oh, it's
Facts
like,
don't care about your
I,
feelings. Yeah, that's a good point.
oh,
Facts don't care about your feelings, right? Yeah.
I get so tired, like so absolutely
I
tired.
know. I've been feeling and
People
hearing about you.
like,
Our weekly conversations. You are very tired of the content that you're being exposed to.
oh, it's crazy. It's crazy what I see out there.
But here's the
And
thing,
what's
okay, and we talked about like, and what I go through in FMA discussion, like what's coming in there. I
Jesus
mean,
Christ, I do.
if I was like, let's just say I was like, oh my god, if that doesn't work, I am not going to put it in there, even though they're not breaking the rules. I'm not putting it in there because it's BS. Do you have any posts that actually would get an FMA discussion as of late? It would probably, I'm getting 40 posts a day on average trying to go in there. And some of them, if they're not FMA relevant, I just kick it out. I mean, because I made that message 3 times already. So I'm justified for doing that. But I'm
You know
telling you,
what's
as far
crazy
as,
is the ones that I like since you made me like admin on.
yeah, like you're seeing it. But I'm telling you, if it was based on like functionality, like you're talking about, or not BS, it would be easily probably like around 5 posts, if that, depending on the day, if that. You know what I mean? Renee likes porn. Brian
It,
says you
it
like
it
porn.
blows my
Is that
mind what
true?
I'm
Is
seeing
this
these days.
true?
It's actually makes me like really like sick to my stomach.
Renee likes porn.
And
Do you like
and
porn?
lately now that I've become a lot more like physically active and I'm starting to train a hell of a lot more and just like it kind of makes the Spanish and Italian blood mix a bit more, so I'm a little bit angrier
That's,
than usual.
that's not a good mixture. Hey,
Um,
Renee. Brian wants to know Renee likes porn. I mean, something going on there and I'm not aware of, or
if I like what?
porn,
You say corn or porn?
porn.
I don't know. Does he have like a website that he wants me to check out, or
Um, Brian, could you enlighten us? Do you have
is there a fight site that I should check out?
wearing black leather? Or, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Um, no, like honestly, like as I may have told you, there was a gentleman that was posting a bunch of stuff. And I called him on it, and when I asked if they could show me a relevant video of what they were teaching, and they said if I pay them, they would show me. And I'm not going to say
That's a
what his
first.
last name is. Rhymes.
Oops.
Oh,
Oh, you're back.
you there?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go in a bit to grab the boy. But go ahead. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you. You hear
Okay.
me?
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's just say that the person's name rhymes with Brister, and he like blocked me because I called him on something. Like, why would you do that? Like, fuck, man. Like,
I know, but that's the defense mechanism. So what people are doing, they're either unfollowing you, they're blocking you, or because I see it all the time. Again,
and you know me well enough that I don't hide from people,
yeah, I know.
and all I was doing is just asking a question. Of course, the way I ask
Mm,
sometimes comes across a bit aggressive, but
yeah,
that's just the way it is. Like, fuck, man. Like, if you're gonna post some videos about something, then like, give me some context behind it, and don't hide behind it. Like, just say, hey, I'm showing something. Like, Shinkali, Ian, he posted a bunch of stuff about knife defense, and I was like, wow, that's a big pile of bullshit. And he sent me a message saying it is because we are teaching the um like the aspects of training. And I was like, okay, cool. Like he actually had the balls to like clarify it publicly to
yeah. I mean,
me.
like at least he answered you back, right? I mean, that's
Yeah. And
yeah,
all I'm saying is have some accountability when you're teaching something, when you're putting something online, have some accountability. Just say, I am doing this to teach how someone should, tie their shoes.
yeah, yeah. But I gotta run. I gotta get the boy. Folks, next week, John Kuspis, four themes, really good stuff. Empty hand on muck, really, really good stuff. Yeah, this
Oh,
is
and we have the jousters coming in too.
Jousters coming as well. Absolutely. Um,
And we have Dean's first kindergarten teacher as well.
yeah, she's good.
She wants to talk about Dean
What I was doing in kindergarten class with makeshift weapons and some other stuff going
and the
on.
killing of the cats, but we'll talk about that.
Oh boy, those kindergarten days, man. All right. Well, obviously, we'll be in touch. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'll wait for your call.
All right. Take it easy, guys.
All right. All right, folks. There's going to be an FMA discussion on Friday. I haven't known the time yet. Minor niece, apparently, guy back in the day. But you'll see it posted in FMA discussion. Next Wednesday, John Kustis, 4 themes a month. Really good stuff. Front, back, back, empty hand stuff. Really good stuff. So I'll see you guys hopefully then.